Hello everyone and welcome to the Arbor Farm. Thank you for joining us for today's episode where I want to share with you why you should stake your flowers, whether you're a home gardener or a flower farmer, and how to do it right. Let's get started. Have you ever wondered why your flowers flop over or they don't bloom as beautifully as you hoped? Well, staking them up can be a game changer for you, whether you are a flower farmer or a home gardener. Staking flowers is an important step that you don't want to miss. I mean, just look at these lilies. I'm gonna flip my camera around and show you. They could have been gorgeous if we would have staked them, but instead we failed this important step and they have flopped. Look at these gorgeous lilies, our Casablanca lilies. They would have been beautiful, but instead they have flopped over into another row because they were failed to be staked. And so now they're just laying on the ground because we've had a lot of rain and we've had a lot of wind, and that made them flap over. So since we're talking about staking flowers, what is the definition of staking? It could be a variety of things, but my definition is it's the use of some kind of support system to hold your flowers upright, to keep them from flopping over. And here on our flower farm, we use several kinds of stakes. And so I'm going to take a moment to show you some different kinds of staking methods that you might choose to use to hold your home garden flowers upright or to hold your flower farm garden flowers upright. Let's take a look. So here is our number one type of staking method that we use, and this is our dahlia section. And you can see that we've just got a couple of wooden pieces pounded into the ground. And then we have netting. And the netting comes on a big roll. And then we stretch it out. And we take it from post to post all the way down to the end. And that helps to keep our dahlia plants upright. And you want to do it while the plants are still small so that they can grow right up through that netting. So that's the number one kind of staking system that we use. And we use netting not just for our dahlias, but we use it for snapdragons, we use it for feverfew, we use it for a variety of things, and the key is putting it on while the plants are still small so that they can grow up through it, and that keeps them upright during rain and wind. And if the blooms get too heavy, it helps to keep them upright. So netting is an important and effective staking method. Here's what our netting looks like when it comes. It's on a big roll. We have to unroll it and then unfold it and stretch it over the stakes that we've pounded into the ground. It's best if you have 2 to 3 people to help install your netting, but it is possible to do it by yourself. So I'll put a link in the description below as to where we get our netting, but again, that's just so you can see what we use. You do not have to buy from that link. So netting is a great helper for keeping your flowers upright. Another type of staking you can use is cages, and a lot of people use this type of cages to hold their tomato plants up, but you can also use it to hold your flowers up. For example, this poor hydrangea is just so full of blooms that it just flopped right over because of the torrential rains that we received yesterday. So I'm going to put a cage around it and help to hold it upright. So to keep my hydrangea bush upright, I've used two pieces of equipment. I've used my cage and I put that over the plant, and then I used a string to wrap it around, and that will help to keep my hydrangea upright and the blooms off the ground, which is what I want in order to keep the stems nice and straight of any plant, as well as the flowers off the ground, so they're not getting dirty and they're not getting readily available to any kind of bug that comes along. Another method of staking that you might choose to use is called corralling. So this one is pretty straightforward and simple, just like the others, and it involves simply pounding stakes in the ground around the perimeter. So you could use wood stakes, you could use T-posts, whatever, you could use rebar, whatever you have readily available to you. And then it involves winding rope or twine around the edge, even crisscrossing it through the middle if you want, to help corral the plants and hold them up. I'll show you, flip the camera around. This is late in the season here for us, and we used corralling for our yarrow, but now we're ready to take it down. But I wanted to show it to you as a method or an option of staking that you might find helpful. So this was our row of yarrow this season, and you can see that I just have 4 stakes, one on each corner, and I could have put some more partway down, but I've used some twine around the edge, and that was to hold the yarrow up when the wind and the storms came this spring. Now it's ready for us to go ahead and take it down because we've cut most of the yarrow, and that is a method that you can use to help keep your plants upright. And then the final method that you might choose to use is perhaps where your mind goes initially when you think of staking. So taking a T-post or a piece of wood or whatever you have and pounding that into the ground, and then using some twine to tie your plant right to that post to keep it upright. For example, this sunflower, this branching sunflower plant would be a great candidate for staking, and it would help to keep it upright if the winds came or if the flowers on top got too heavy. Staking is beneficial in that regard. So I've already touched on some of these points, but I just wanted to be sure that I get them out there clearly. And so what is the point of staking flowers? Well, there can be a few reasons, and again, I've touched on those. One, to prevent the stem from breaking and to keep the flowers from flopping over. Another reason might be to keep your garden looking tidy. If you like rows to be able to walk down, then staking your flowers is important, because otherwise they're gonna be flopped over the aisles and you'll have no way to get through to enjoy or to cut your flowers. And then the third reason, which is especially important for us as flower farmers, is to encourage straight stems. If our plant ends up flat on the ground, most likely if we leave it for more than a day or two, it's going to start bending like this. And then it's because it is reaching for the sun, and then I have a stem that is, L-shaped, and it's no good for a bouquet, because when I stand that upright, what happens? My flower then is off to the side, or it looks funky in some way. So I don't want to allow my flowers to flap, because for me, it's important to have straight stems in my bouquets for my customers. And then the last two reasons, these somewhat go hand in hand. A lot of flowers do best if they are, staked up they actually do well and provide more blooms on some plants if they're staked, instead of, just laying across the ground, getting wet, getting a lot of insect damage. They will bloom better if they're staked, and that's true for many plants. And then the reason that goes hand in hand is by staking your plants, you provide good air circulation. The air can get through them. It keeps them from pests and diseases, as those can cause damage to your flowers as well. So which flowers need staking? Well, we always say it never hurts to stake. So any of them that grow tall, more than, just a few inches, you can always stake your flowers, and you can never go wrong with that. Some of the flowers that we stake are our yarrow, our snapdragons, feverfew, strawflower, of course our dahlias, because those have big heads on them and the stems are so, I guess you might say, weak. And you can stake zinnias, any flower, lysianthus, any flower that grows tall and you feel like it could benefit from being upright and maintaining an upright stem. I also wanted to touch on 4 staking mistakes so that you hopefully don't make these mistakes and then your plants will be sacrificed or your blooms will be sacrificed. And so the number 1 staking mistake is waiting too long to stake the plants. And so you always want to stake your plants while they're small, small, so that, like I showed with our dahlias, so that they will have time to grow up through that netting or through that caging or whatever system you might use, and they will maintain a straight stem. If you wait too long, chances are the stem will break, the plant will flap, you won't be able to get it through the netting or whatever kind of method you might be using. So start early, and that's the key. The second mistake that is often found is tying too tight. So if you're using a twine or some kind of cording or whatever to hold your plant to that stake, a mistake that's often done is tying it too tight. If you tie your plant too tight, it can break the stem, it can kill the plant. So make sure that you do it nice and snug, but not too tight. The third mistake when staking plants is using a weak support for a tall, heavy plant. For example, if I just used a bamboo stick to stake up my branching sunflower that I showed you a few moments ago, chances are that's not going to do any good when a windstorm comes. So make sure your stake is sturdy enough for the plant. And the fourth mistake that we want you to avoid is to make sure that you're adjusting the ties as the plant grows. If you're using a single stake and you're tying the plant to that stake, you want to make sure that you're adjusting the ties up that stake as the plant grows. Otherwise, it will do no good. So our main point, or our takeaway from today's video, is that staking your plants gives you stronger blooms and healthier plants and gives you straight stems. So that's what you want to accomplish from all of your work of staking your blooms. So I want to challenge you this season, if you grow flowers of any kind or if you're a flower farmer, I'd like to challenge you to stake your plants this season. Your blooms will thank you. And don't forget to check the description below for the kinds of supplies that we use for our staking. That's just to give you some ideas. You don't have to buy from those links, but just to help you know what is available and out there for you to use. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. Our goal is to always create content that's helpful for you And if you found today's content helpful, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel so you can receive notifications as to when the next content is available. And as always, if you have questions or comments, please drop those below. We are always happy to engage with you, and we read every single one. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.